Joining us now to talk all about it is our buddy Stephen Willis, host of Locked On Ole Miss. And so, Stephen, not the most surprising news. We knew this was going to come after the local judge there ruled in favor of Trinidad Chambliss and his eligibility. But what do you make of the latest news that the NCAA is appealing the preliminary injunction in the state court of Mississippi granted to Trinidad Chambliss?
Yeah, it's amazing with the timing. With tomorrow, the president's commission and Congress and everybody on Capitol Hill is going to be paying attention to college sports. It would be nice if a Heisman favorite quarterback was under the microscope of what was going on. This is all a PR play. Honestly, I don't believe it'll honestly be heard by the Supreme Court in the state of Mississippi. If it does, there's like a 3% chance of an injunction being overturned if it gets heard. This is much ado about nothing, and it's kind of a PR play in order to strengthen their resolve for, hey, we need an antitrust ruling so that we can have ironclad rules that we can't go to these state courts and all of that to challenge our authority. We need absolute authority.
Yeah, I get what the NCAA is trying to say. They're saying they should have the final decision making, or they should be the final decision making authority on the interpretation of eligibility. And they're using the words this will subject the NCAA to substantial and irreparable injury. I get big picture what they're saying, but can't they pull it back and go, yeah, but there's an exception here. Like Chambliss didn't get the medical red shirt. You know what I mean? Like I feel like big picture, I get what they're saying, but like, this one feels like, okay, let this one move on. And then after this, we'll say, yes, we'll tighten the clamps down.
Literally during the hearing, when Trinidad Chambliss was about to take the stand, the NCAA approved a 9th year of eligibility for a college athlete. I mean, if you're going to talk about, harming college players and all that, it's all just talking out of both sides of your mouth, because 6th-year seniors, that's not a rare thing. That's not even as many years as TJ Finley's played at schools. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. It's a 6th year of eligibility that there's video proof of people talking about it before he transferred. It wasn't a money grab. This is something that was planned. The issue is this is a bureaucracy play. The transfer from Division II to Division I has 2 different levels of bars that you have to clear and 2 different levels of record keeping that you have to do. And Division II does not match up with Division I. That's not Trinidad's fault in this whole situation. That's the crazy thing. This is all about the bureaucracy and the rules that the NCAA made, and they're basically being sued over that. And the state court judge, you can make fun of it however you want to. All 3 of the cases, the outcome was what needed to be the outcome.
I saw Tom Mars, he tweeted out about basically saying that, hey, look, everyone remembers the NCAA appealing to the Supreme Court in I think it was a Sean Alston case, and he said got their teeth knocked out by Justice Kavanaugh. I expect the NCAA to be spitting chiclets in this appeal as well. It just doesn't feel like they have, like it would be to me like almost unprecedented for them for this to be overturned at this point.
Yeah, if you look at the record from the original hearing, you have the NCAA submitting no witnesses, no evidence. They did not question 1 or 2 of the witnesses that went up and left about 30 minutes early. I mean, that is what happened in the original hearing. And now you're going to say, hey, we're going to appeal it, not because there was a problem with the ruling or something not factual happened. It's just that you don't like what the ruling was. The state court in Mississippi got it right. I get that LSU fans and Georgia fans and everybody are upset about it. You're doing the tribal thing. I get that. But whenever you look at it on its merits, there's no reason for it not to have been approved just with a rubber stamp at the staff level, unless something ulterior was planned by the NCAA. And I am convinced, and I'm convinced about this, it was all about bringing awareness and eyeballs for their antitrust situation with Congress. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I've even talked to some LSU folks who said, like, I'm happy for the kid. Like, it's most people are kind of in the boat of, yeah, I mean, look, another year of Trinidad Chambliss in college football will make fun college football. How much also, I mean, like, it seemed like in the Aguilar hearing, they had a hard time. I think the judge was trying to be pretty level-headed. He goes, well, how much money is being left on the table? Is he missing out on if he doesn't get another year? And the representatives for Aguilar couldn't really articulate it. Well, I don't know what the market value is and all this. This one seems pretty cut and dry. Like, it's been pretty well reported. Trinidad Chambliss is getting, what, $5 million at least in NIL money. It seems to me if they were to overturn this, he'd have a good case to come back and go, you just cheated this kid out of legit $5 million, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I would think that would be the case. And when you look at the national commercials attached to Trinidad Chambliss, the AT&T commercial at the end of last year, he's going to be in the line for multiple ones of those during the season as well. It might be up to $5, $6, $7, $8 million by the time it's all said and done. It's going to be a big ask, but like I said, I do not expect the NCAA believes that they think they're going to win this. They're doing this for eyeballs and trying to win another fight. They're using this for the PR for another fight.
And I took a couple media law classes in college, but that's as far as I got. So neither of us are legal experts. So don't take our word for it. But then again, a lot of this stuff is a new age, right? The whole, this new world of NCAA with athletes actually getting paid. This is a new world for everybody. So give me a percentage chance. I mean, if I said, give me a percentage chance that Trinidad Chambliss is not the starting quarterback for Ole Miss next year, under less than 10, less than 5%?
Yeah, it's probably less than 5. In an interlocutory appeal or whatever that's called with the Supreme Court, the odds are very small of an injunction being overturned. It's an incredibly high bar to clear. It's almost like a performative thing at this point. So I would expect Trinidad Chambliss is going to be the starting quarterback whenever Ole Miss takes out the Louisville Cardinals. Now on Sunday, by the way. So I think he's going to be fine. But this appeal was expected. It was expected the moment the ruling came down. They're prepared for it, and whatever happens, but they're definitely prepared.
Continue our conversation with Stephen Willis, host of Locked On Ole Miss. We did get some actual, other football news when it comes to Ole Miss on Thursday. We found out that the game against Louisville to open the season is set for Sunday Night Football. It will be Ole Miss versus Louisville from, I believe, Nissan Stadium there in Nashville. And that's kind of cool because we've seen, the last couple of years, those Sunday games with, kind of the eyes of the nation, and Ole Miss almost becoming a national brand now, coming off the playoff run from last year. And so pretty exciting to see that it's moved to Sunday evening, right?
I'm pretty fired up. Honestly, I used to live just 15, 20 miles away from Nissan Stadium. So there's a lot of Ole Miss fans in Nashville. Whenever Ole Miss plays Vanderbilt, well, when anybody plays Vanderbilt, but especially Ole Miss, they travel up the road because I think Ole Miss is the closest school to Vanderbilt. So they kind of take over that stadium. But when this game happens, when you line up the first snap and it's Trinidad Chambliss and Kewan Lacey and all of this hype, because I think that once all of this gets resolved and done, everybody's going to look at the roster and what came back and all of that, and they are going to start hyping and hyping and hyping, and the ranking's going to go up, up, up. So by the time that game kicks off, it might be a pretty anticipated thing.
It's interesting. I was kind of doing the look ahead at the schedule for, week 1, and Notre Dame, Wisconsin is supposed to happen that day from Lambeau Field as well. So I'll be curious if, because ESPN owns the rights to the LSU or to the Ole Miss Louisville game. I'm curious, is Notre Dame, Wisconsin maybe going to be like the doubleheader? Will they be the day game? Because wasn't South Carolina, Virginia Tech, wasn't that like a daytime on Sunday like this past season?
The Ole Miss game will be the primetime game. It'll be 6:30 Central Time. So I would imagine the Big Ten likes playing games during the daytime. That's kind of their tradition. Big noon kickoff, the whole 9 yards. Maybe they kick it off at 11 just for S&Gs.
Yeah, it was just something I noticed. I was like, oh, that's a fun Sunday doubleheader there. And of course, it's always that first weekend before NFL season starts. And so fun to get a couple of college games. And by the way, we talk about a little bit of a stinker. The Monday night game for the opening weekend is SMU Florida State from Doak Campbell. It's okay, but when they probably scheduled it, they probably thought it was going to be a really good game. And then you look at it, it's like, oh, there was a couple of years ago that Ole Miss was supposed to play Boise State. This is back when Boise was one of the IT teams. This is like in the 2008 range or something like that. And Ole Miss just wasn't good. And they're like, hey, we're going to hold off on this until you get a little bit better. Ole Miss played them a couple years later and blew them off the field. But there's like, we scheduled it when you were good,
you're not good at the moment. So we're gonna postpone this.
Give me a quick thought. We've been talking. I've been monitoring what's happening at other SEC camps. Obviously, Missouri gets started before everybody because Eli likes to get everything out of the way before their spring break, and so they started early. They're like a week in. Florida and South Carolina both got underway this week. Alabama will get underway in a couple days. Ole Miss, correct me if I'm wrong, they're like the latest team in the SEC to start up their camp this year, right around March 23rd or something.
Yeah, March 23rd, they're going to start. Remember, they lost about 2 weeks due to Winter Storm Fern, to where they had to shut everything down. So that put winter preparation and all of that behind the 8 ball. So they just probably wanted a full winter conditioning series before practice started. So that's probably the reason it's a couple of weeks late. Normally they start about a week before spring break, which would be like Monday or something like that. But the 23rd going to make sense. It's like the 23rd through the 30th or something like that. Yeah, but I do think this is probably winter storm related because it kind of set them back a little bit.
What's the biggest question for this team going into spring ball?
Tackles. It's going to be absolutely the tackles because you're losing Diego Pounds and Jayden Williams, and they have to be replaced. Carius Kearns, good player. Therese Davis, really good player, played at Maryland as a true freshman, but you need to see it on the football field. The interior of that line is going to be really good, but the tackles have to perform. Now, it helps that you have a player like Trinidad Chambliss who's able to run around, but they're going to be called on to open holes for Kewan Lacey running the ball, Trinidad Chambliss passing the ball. If you can lock down the tackle position, that offense is going to be really good.
See, I had that as kind of maybe my number 2. My number 1 question, this is just like, I'm curious to see. They have good wide receivers. A lot of them are new. You know, how does that gel with Chambliss, from Daryl Gill to Jonte Cook, Horatio Fields? I mean, these are all guys who've played elsewhere. Deuce Alexander's back, obviously, but you know, to me, that's kind of the big chemistry word, right? Like, good receivers, but how quickly do they all gel and get on the same page?
Well, remember a year ago, Trinidad Chambliss got there in June, so there was a quick turnaround to the whole receiving room, and they were pretty good and on track together. This year, they'll have a complete spring and a complete summer, so it's actually more of a buildup than he had a year ago.
Defensively, it looks like probably 70% of the defense is all going to be new starters on there.
The Ole Miss is returning basically their defensive line, their entire defensive line, new linebackers. Luke Forelli and is coming back in. The secondary they had to redo because they were not very good a year ago. So they went out and got Jay Crawford from Auburn, who was one of the best cornerbacks on the best defense, one of the best defenses in the SEC. And then they brought in some safeties because the safeties were a problem. If you could throw the ball downfield, you could really exploit that defense. That's the reason they couldn't get after the passer like they did in 24, and they had to do that drop 8 thing. It was about protecting the safeties. They want to set back to where they play a little bit of man coverage, be confident in it, and get after the quarterback again.
Yeah, Jonel Aguero, obviously very seasoned SEC guy. Tony Mitchell, Antonio Kite's back there, so that'll help. But yeah,
Edwin Joseph, really good player.
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot of new faces, but Pete Golding's done this a time or two, so we'll see certainly what they look like. Last thing, does it sound like I didn't see? Did they announce are they having a spring game? I would assume they might get back to that.
Yeah, the spring game has not been announced yet. I want to see a spring game. I'm very pro spring game, and with no spring transfer portal window, and with the proposed announcements of players that ghost transfer, they need to have one. They need to line up, run your vanilla offense, have fun, give a chance for people to see these players and develop a relationship again with those teams. With the transfer portal and everybody being quiet, you're just rooting for laundry right now. You need to be able to actually connect with what you're seeing, and you kind of do that and start doing that in spring.
Yeah, we know Lane Kiffin would rather have a tug-of-war contest and a hot dog eating contest than play a spring game. So we'll see what Pete Golding, what they will do under his tenure there in Oxford. As always, all the latest information on the Ole Miss Rebels. Check out our buddy Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss. Stephen, appreciate the time, man.
No problem, buddy.
All right, more Locked On SEC after this.